You wake up every morning with a sinking feeling you can't explain. It's subtle, quiet, almost ignorable, but it sits behind your ribs like a warning. You sense that there is a version of you buried somewhere beneath the noise of your life, a version who moves with certainty, who doesn't hesitate, who doesn't stumble over the same mistakes again and again. But that version never shows up, and the terrifying truth is that most people will die without ever meeting the person they could have become. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack talent, but because they misunderstand discipline so deeply that they spend their entire life spinning inside the same small circle. You've been told discipline is about forcing yourself to do things, about routines and motivation and grit. But there is an older system, born in the quiet training halls of the early Edo period, that shaped people into something different. This system doesn't add anything to you. It removes everything that weakens you. And it will show you the craziest level of discipline, a level almost no one in the modern world has the nerve to touch. But there's a catch, because to reach it, you will have to destroy the one thing you've spent your whole life protecting without even realizing it. Before you go any further, pause for a moment and breathe. Then say out loud the one habit you have never been able to stay consistent with. Let it leave your mouth. That confession is your entry point. And if you want guidance every week from ancient systems that still outperform modern hacks, subscribe and leave that habit in the comments so the journey begins with honesty. Your story begins the same way it begins for most people. You wake up on a Monday morning determined to change your life. You've said this before, but this time you convince yourself it's different. Your name could be Jordan or any name at all, because this story isn't about the character. It's about the cycle. Jordan is 27, works an average job, follows average routines, and carries a years-long collection of abandoned planners, unfinished habits, and motivation videos saved for later. He wants to be consistent. He wants to be reliable. He wants to be the kind of person who can trust himself. But every attempt collapses at the same point, not because he doesn't care, but because he keeps using discipline as a weapon instead of a doorway. He wakes up at 5 for 3 days, then crashes. He plans every hour of his week, then burns out. He promises himself he won't fall again, then falls even faster. The worst part isn't the failure, it's the loop. The same loop that keeps repeating, because he's still negotiating with the same identity he's trying to escape. One afternoon, something inside Jordan breaks. A small mistake at work, something trivial, something no one else will even remember. But he remembers it, because in that moment he realizes the pain isn't from the mistake, it's from the pattern. He sees himself repeating the same cycle for the 10th time, the 100th time, maybe the 1000th. And for the first time in his life, he admits the truth. He doesn't know how to override himself, but here's what no one tells you. This exact breaking point is the doorway every ancient student walked through before they stepped onto the path that reshaped their identity. Jordan's life changes the moment he encounters the writings of Yajuu Munenori, a strategist who trained the Tokugawa shogunate and shaped some of the most disciplined warriors in Japanese history. Jordan doesn't find him through a dramatic encounter. He finds him the way most life-changing discoveries happen, almost accidentally. A recommended video, a passing reference in a podcast, a book pulled from a shelf he never planned to browse. In Munenori's words, Jordan finds something haunting. The idea that discipline has levels, and the level most people chase is the weakest one. The deeper levels are not about adding strength. They are about subtracting identity. Munenori taught that discipline begins when the self stops interfering. He described 3 gates, 3 transformations, 3 ways the mind dies and reforms. Jordan feels something come alive in him, but he misunderstands the beginning completely. He believes the first stage is about effort, about intensity, about pushing harder. But here's what no one tells you. The first stage has nothing to do with strength. It is about obedience. Jordan begins stage 1 with a single motion. Not a complicated move, not a dramatic exercise. Just one simple action repeated 300 times, then 500, then 1,000. The repetition is brutal because it exposes everything in him that resists consistency. After 50 repetitions, he gets bored. After 100, his mind wanders. After 200, he wants to quit. After 300, he questions the point of any of this, but he keeps going. And at some point, something strange happens. His resistance becomes louder, almost panicked, as if his old identity realizes it's being threatened. In 2014, a Harvard neuroscience study revealed something Jordan never knew. When you repeat a single action enough times in a short window, you overwhelm the resistance loop in the prefrontal cortex. Your identity stops negotiating. It doesn't break through strength. It breaks through exhaustion. Jordan begins to understand the truth. The purpose of stage 1 is not to get good. It's to stop arguing with yourself. When he finally crosses the threshold where his mind stops fighting, something shifts. Not dramatically, quietly, subtly. He realizes the motion feels different. He's no longer doing it. It's simply happening. But here's what no one tells you. Almost no one makes it past this point, not because the stage is too hard, but because they fall into the trap waiting on the other side. The eternal student trap is the most comfortable prison in the world. Jordan falls into it without realizing it. He begins reading more books about the system, watching more videos, diving deeper into philosophy. He collects insights. He collects theories. He collects ideas, and collecting feels like progress. In the modern world, learning is one of the easiest ways to avoid transformation. You feel productive without ever threatening your identity. You feel enlightened without ever doing the work. You feel like you're growing because you understand concepts, but you never apply them long enough to become someone new. This is the lie that traps 99% of people. They want mastery but refuse the identity loss mastery demands. But here's what no one tells you. Stage 2 is designed to break this illusion in a way you cannot escape. Stage 2 is controlled breaking. In Mononori's system, it meant training under 2 opposing principles that shattered a student's expectations. Jordan begins practicing with speed one day and intentional slowness the next. Firmness one day and softness the next. Precision one moment and improvisation the moment after. The contradictions overwhelm him. His mind tries to hold 2 incompatible patterns at once, and it feels like his brain is short-circuiting. In 2019, researchers at the University of Tokyo discovered that the brain generates the strongest neuroplastic responses when forced to adapt to contradictory patterns. Jordan doesn't realize it, but his identity is being stretched so far that it can no longer snap back to its old shape. Something new is forming inside him. Not confidence, not motivation, alignment, the ability to act without fracturing. But here's what no one tells you. Stage 3 is where your old self makes its final attempt to survive. Stage 3 is not a lesson, it's a test. Jordan faces it without warning one week when everything in his life collapses at the same time. A confrontation with his boss, an unexpected bill, a friend who tells him he's been distant and unreliable. In the past, this combination would have destroyed him. He would have spiraled, avoided responsibility, shut down emotionally, and disappeared into the same familiar cycle of shame and self-hatred. But this time, something feels different. He responds to each problem with clarity, calmness, and presence. Not because he's forcing himself to stay calm, but because the part of him that used to panic can't access the controls anymore. His reactions have changed at the identity level. In 2021, an Oxford study confirmed that identity becomes stable only when behavior remains consistent under unpredictable stress. Jordan doesn't know that study exists, but he feels the truth of it. He finally understands that the craziest level of discipline isn't extreme routines or punishing habits. It's the moment your behavior no longer depends on your emotions. But here's what no one tells you. The world doesn't celebrate this version of you. It fears it. When Jordan begins living with this new level of discipline, people around him feel exposed. His presence makes others uncomfortable because he is no longer playing the role they expect. He doesn't complain the way they complain. He doesn't procrastinate the way they procrastinate. He doesn't fold under pressure the way they fold. When someone evolves past negotiation, everyone who still negotiates feels judged simply by standing next to them. People pull away. They make comments. They say he's changed. They say he's cold. They say he's too serious. But beneath their words is something simpler. Your presence scares people because you killed the version of yourself they were comfortable with. But here's what no one tells you. This level of discipline applies everywhere. Imagine a guitarist practicing a single chord transition for 600 repetitions until the hand moves without conscious control. Imagine a programmer rebuilding the same basic application 3 times from scratch without a tutorial, watching their confidence shift from fragile to unshakable. Imagine a business owner sending 20 outreach messages every day without emotion, without hesitation, without theatrics. These are not dramatic tasks. They are not glamorous. But they follow the same ancient structure: obedience, contradiction, test, and they reshape a person from the inside out. But here's what no one tells you. You want the shortcut. You want mastery without sacrifice. You want transformation without erosion. You want consistency without confronting the part of you that benefits from inconsistency. You want a new identity while clinging to the old one with both hands. You tell yourself you'll change when life calms down, when you have more energy, when the timing is better, when circumstances align. You tell yourself you'll wake up early tomorrow, you'll stop scrolling next week, you'll start working out next month, you'll finally commit next year. But the truth is simpler and sharper than you want to admit. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your identity. And your identity is built on the habits you protect when no one is watching. There is a path forward, and it is older, simpler, and more brutal than anything you've tried. In 2022, a longitudinal Oxford study revealed the only reliable method for long-term behavioral consistency is identity-based repetition. Not motivation, not planning. Repetition that rewires the self. You begin with one micro skill. You repeat it beyond the point of boredom because boredom is the doorway to identity erosion. Then you add a contradictory variation to destabilize your expectations. You test yourself under small stressors so the behavior becomes stable under pressure. You eliminate daily negotiation because negotiation is the birthplace of relapse. And you strengthen the new identity by teaching someone else what you learned. This is the path Jordan walked, and it is the path waiting for you. You can keep reinventing yourself, building new versions on top of foundations that are already cracked. Or you can do the painful work that very few people will ever dare to attempt. You can outgrow yourself. And once you take the first step, you will never be able to return to the version of you that kept breaking. Now speak the truth out loud. Comment the first weakness or skill you are willing to rebuild from zero. Your new identity begins the moment you choose the smallest repetition that will begin erasing the version of you that refuses to change.